Why now? I think partly the great scholarship of the 60s and 70s and early 80s on leadership that kind of moved away from the great man theory to the leadership as process theory really set the groundwork for this. Nationally, there have been hugely high-profile failures of leadership at every level of government, of the private sector, of church leadership, and there's really the question, what do we do about this? How do we mitigate the disasters that happen when leaders don't use their power well, and when the people around them can't seem to help them check whatever excesses or blind spots they may have? I also believe that, or observe, that we now have an inverted pyramid of knowledge in our organizations. Perhaps at one time, the leaders of the organization really did know more than the followers at the bottom about how to make paper or something like that. But it's very inverted now. The real knowledge resides at the bottom of the organization, and leaders recognize that they have to listen more to the people who actually know the complexity of what's happening. We, of course, have the widespread access to information, which changes everything. I see this in my own life. Think back, 10 years ago when you would go to a doctor and you would just listen to what the doctor had to say. Now, nobody who has any kind of symptoms doesn't check out their symptoms on the internet and come in, very well informed to have a dialogue with their physician, and sometimes give information to the physician didn't have. So, again, that who's the leader, who's the follower has blurred there. We also have moved now from the information age to the network telecommunications age, and we have a tremendously different dynamic that happens in knowledge generation peer-to-peer. And we saw that in Iraq, for example, where soldiers at ground level would learn what they needed to learn about how to survive and make things work there, and didn't wait for some manual to come down from the top, but through blogging, etc., developed the knowledge and shared it. And so we have a great peer-to-peer orientation that's occurring in organizations now that is changing the historic leader-follower dynamic. I also believe that because we now are beginning to develop a language about followership, that people can start talking about it. You can't talk about something that you don't have a language, that you don't have words for. So now as we begin to have language, we start to get the meme entering the culture, the DNA of the culture. We have leaders, we have followers, we need to understand both of those dynamics and relationships. And I'm also observing, and with great excitement and satisfaction, how the subject of followership now is entering into standards of professional development. For example, in the California police system, again, because I can Google followership, I can Google the courageous follower, I see that at all levels of the California police system, by levels I mean state level, county level, municipal level, at the sergeant level rank, when they do the training, they are training people on followership. And I even found an exam where 25% was based on knowledge of case law and the use of force, and 20% was based on the knowledge of case law and lethal force, and 10% was based on the knowledge of the courageous follower. Wow. Well, why is that? Well, if you're going to give somebody lethal force, the use of lethal force, not only do they have to know when it's okay to use it and not use it, but if they get an illegal order, they have to know how to withstand that. So we really see this entering the system. I also found Microsoft was very fascinating, that they now have in their competencies, one of their competencies is relationship to authority. Are you cowed by authority, or are you fully comfortable in dialogue with authority? This is another expression of the change of follower-leader dynamics.